Thank you very much for coming to these demos. I'm going to go through and introduce to you our product Bolt.new. So hopefully I would like you to meet Bolt.new, your new front-end developer. My name, however, is Alex. I'm a senior backend engineer at StackBlitz. You can email me at alexk@stackblitz.com. And I'm hopefully going to try and get to the bottom of also of this confusion. What is StackBlitz? What is Bolt? And how do they interact? And that really comes to the heart of why it is that we're building AI in browsers and how these two things work together. How did we get here? What are the capabilities we have? And what are these use cases for you and your users? So I'd like to just dig into a little bit of the history of the tool and the company as well, and how because StackBlitz itself has been around for 7-8 years now, so it's been around for a while, even though the Bolt.new has only been around for just over a year. People who have been around a little bit in this community, and there are lots of people who have a great history with us, will be familiar with other kinds of code sandboxes. There are various ones that exist: JSPin, CodePen. StackBlitz is one of these. These are a way for you to run, share, export, and do maybe in a little light JavaScript development in your browser. Usually the way they work is you have some custom in-browser bundler, which gives you a simple single stack setup, or they all connect to a remote virtual machine where you can run more stuff. This obviously comes at a price of having to pay for that compute and obviously also run a fleet of little VMs in the cloud. That's not the case for us. At StackBlitz, we've built something quite different. It's really very unique. We've created our own mini operating system called Web Containers, and that has a file system, a virtualized network layer, lots of other things actually, and it all runs client-side in your browser. You can see an example of this here. If you go to node.new, you will see how quickly it boots up. What this is doing is it's running a StackBlitz instance, which pulls down the entire operating system into your browser, and within 100 to 200 milliseconds gets you running and gets you into a terminal environment where you can do things like run bash, you can run npm, you can install a package, you can actually serve a backend, you can run a backend service and run a backend in your browser. This has been incredibly helpful for us in helping us scale, because it means that we can, having spikes in usage or serving hundreds of thousands or millions of developers, doesn't strain our infrastructure. When other tools came along, such as ChatGPT, this became a huge win for us, because when people realized that you could produce documents, images, videos, and in fact code with these tools, well, we had a place where you could run it. We had a runtime. People don't want code for the sake of code, they want what code does, and that's where we come in. That's why we built Bolt.new. It allowed developers to get started with advanced agentic coding without setting anything up. You don't have to install anything, you just visit the site and it works in your browser, and you get a working environment that you can play around with very quickly. And this becomes a huge force multiplier for developers. We've heard about this from multiple people. You get an extra team member. You get a front-end developer if you're a back-end developer. You get a pair programmer if you want somebody to talk to. We have a planning mode for that. You get the ability to explore and prototype features without committing fully to them. I'm going to now look at something that I've built over the course of the last 24 hours, actually, in the course of, in between these different sessions, a more practical example. Let's imagine that we're talking about the next SF Ruby session. This is obviously 2026. We want to have a website for that where visitors can come, they can register, they can view the schedule, all the things you'd expect from a website for a conference. And so what I did, and we'll actually have a look at this, I went and I told Bolt I would like to have all these things. And it went ahead and it built this. That image you see on the right is indeed the first version of the style and the overall design, and I didn't have to change anything. Already at this point, we've got a huge amount of value. We've got a front-end skeleton that I can export, connect to GitHub. I can pull it down as a zip file and get working with this. But it gets even more interesting if I go further, because I can have a real SQL database, file storage, user authentication, payments with Stripe, deployment to a public URL, deployment to my own domain, and as I mentioned, GitHub integration and version control. And this isn't just theoretical, this is in fact the tool on top of which the 2025 website for this conference was prototyped. This is the deployed version of that website. I'm just going to go through and demonstrate that we actually have all those features. I can go in, I can sign in, I can purchase a ticket using a Stripe set of products that I configured on my dashboard. I can complete that payment, it comes through a webhook, and I get success. And then I can see my ticket in the application. I can view the different speakers, those can be configured in the application, and this shows, if I come back to where I built this from, that we have all I have the database here, I can inspect the tables, I can look, as I mentioned, at file storage, at user authentication, all these different features. We enable users to go from prototype to working production-ready code without having to write anything at all, which I didn't for this application. This has been so successful and so valuable to so many people. We've scaled to 6 million users, tens of millions of projects, and this is what vibe coding brings people. It's what vibe coding brings you. It gives you a great enabler if you are not technical, and it gives you an incredible efficiency boost if you want to explore parts of the domain that you're not a particular expert in, or you just want to have that acceleration on top of what you're doing. Obviously, the question is, will this replace developers anytime soon? Obviously not. We need, as Odie was discussing this morning at the keynote, we need to have a collaboration with these tools. And what Bolt, I hope, is here to show you is that we can build that together and make that collaboration easy, straightforward, and with the absolute minimum of hurdle to get started. Thank you very much to Evil Martians for organizing this conference. Thank you very much for coming. Please come and meet me later. I've got some money off vouchers in my pocket.